Hello, here for the Greyhawk. This is my campaigns and conquests new Sunday afternoon show. A few minutes late, my apologies. Uh, got a lot of response on the Greyhawk, and I wanted to say thank you. Um, Glad that you're interested, and want to tell you a little bit more about it. So there's so much interest that it looks like we'll have to divide up uh, the interested parties into a couple of different sessions. So we'll find a way to work that out. Um, that's pretty simple. We the OD&D. A lot of people were asking, well, what version? And they were putting out pictures of products from the 80s. Well, this one is actually from the 70s. It's the original. It was created by Robert Kuntz, and it was a supplement to OD&D. It was printed in 75, if I remember correctly. So it's a somewhat different, like some people replied, it's kind of a less fiddly, which I guess is one of those words that people use for less rules, less complexity, whatever, version of the game, the original version, that is. So it'll be a lot of fun. Won't take a lot of learning, but it will take a lot of imagination. We want committed players, people that can keep a schedule. I run some other games, and sometimes that can be a problem. But this is going to be a pretty big deal, being able to play with some of the legends of the game. And for that, we want to make sure that everybody shows up so that the party remains consistent, and we don't have too many problems with switching people in and out and such. So I know everybody's got a busy schedule. Not everybody's going to be able to play on the day that it happens. We all do. So we'll have to work that out. I wanted to see if there was any response or interest in something like this. And to my surprise, the replies were more than I'd ever had thought. So we'll have to see how we can work that out. But as far as any scenario or anything like that, well, we'll leave that kind of open-ended. I think we'll be doing a kind of campaign thing that there will probably be start out with some scenario-ish type adventures and then take it from there. It's kind of a more open sandbox game. That's how I understand it to be. So a lot of people said, hey, I'm all set up. I'm on this VTT and that VT and T. And so I use Tabletop Simulator. So I like Tabletop Simulator because it's cheap, it's easy, and you don't have to continually feed a machine with money in order to keep it going or to add in a bunch of accessories and such. So we'll be using that if the need for miniatures arise. Other than that, I've been going through Discord, and would I give it an A+? No. Would I give it an F? No. It tends to work 90% of the time, which I guess is a pretty good record. So I don't see any reason to switch from that, but we'll see where it goes. But that's basically what we're going to do. We're going to play through some form of, I've been in arguments about what VTT means, so whatever. We're going to use headphone, mic, camera, if you want. Play over that kind of system. Mostly theater of the mind. If there's an encounter that seems complex, if there's any mass battles that somehow arise, then we'll look at something, where we can get people set up on Tabletop Simulator to play, just so that things can be tracked. A typical encounter doesn't really necessarily need a VTT, but if you have too many moving parts, it's hard for people to keep it straight in their mind, no matter how good your descriptions are, and then some visual aid is needed. So, uh, I don't know. A lot of people tend to have angst towards the tabletop simulator. I'm not really sure why. To me, all these things have their downsides and can be frustrating. But so maybe that might even thin out some of the interest as soon as they hear that that's going to be part of the situation. So, but otherwise, we'll split it up. I'm trying to let's where I'm at as far as interest. I've got one, two, let's see. I think 5, 6, 7, something like that, where I'm at as far as people who have come and overtly stated they were interested. Had a lot of people hit like. I made a comment about that, about another game I was trying to run, and people got a little bit irritated. It wasn't my intention to make people pissed. I don't know why. I guess it was worded badly. But but the thing is that sometimes I'll pose a question that requires either, you know, get nothing but a like out of it. And like to me on these social media platforms seems like a vague response. People get mad because they're like, well, it helps you out. Well, thank you. It does a little bit, but so I don't know what the people that hit like mean. Maybe they were just helping the algorithm or thought they were, so that's fine too. So it's hard to gauge specifically how many people are playing. If I said that everybody who liked it or retweeted it was interested in playing, we're definitely looking at 2 or 3 parties. If not, we may be looking at just 2 or a very large singular one. Well, not very large, just a little bit larger than normal. So I don't know. We'll have to see. There are other events. As much as I loved this, that there was a lot of enthusiasm for it. And I don't want to look, I never look a gift horse in the mouth and all that, but I do run a lot of other games, and I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall to get people to play them, and they're fun. I had people playing some of them for a long time, and they were enjoying themselves. But there tends to be this weird angst towards Star Wars, and it was a Star Wars game. I'd sure love to keep it going. But we'll have to see. So doing this, I know it's impromptu, although I did speak earlier of having a 3:00 Sunday afternoon show right here. No, I don't have the screen sharing on. But I don't know how else to transmit this information to people. So I don't know. But yeah, we're at 7. So we'll have to see. Anyway, some of the other things that are going on is, like I said, the Star Wars. I have one that was running, but people seem to be, I don't know. It was a weird deal with that one. I got the feeling, without, and maybe assumptions, ask you, me, that whole adage was a bad idea. But it just seemed to me, without anybody really expressing it, that they were kind of, it had kind of run its course. We played the game for a year, a little over a year. It just seemed like some of them were, you know, not as enthused for it. And I go, well, that happens, you know. So I said, all right, I'm going to stop doing this. You know, there's no point in putting together, you know, spending 3-4 hours or more over the course of a week putting together something for people who are just going to kind of go, oh, you know, I'll show up if I feel like it. So I gave up. And they, oh, no, no, don't stop. Don't stop. We're having fun. We want to keep doing it. Okay. All right, great. So backed by popular demand. So I put it out, and everybody goes, yeah, you know, I'm not really into it. You know, you know, I'm going to go outside instead or something like that. So people are fickle, I guess. But I do like it. I would run it again. I would definitely not run it unless I had people who are, you know, absolutely committed. And I understand, you know, one guy got on my case. I can't commit anything. Don't, you know, he was mad because he thought I was upset that they wouldn't commit to playing. So I understand you've got your own lives and stuff like that. All I'm saying is that once people show up and say, okay, I do want to play it, make the commitment. If you don't think you can keep the commitment, don't make it in the first place. Because there's other people sitting around waiting to play. And if it's always contingent on whether you can, or, you know, because I have people that do that. Well, I can only do it every third Saturday of the month. Well, sounds like you can't do it then. You know, what do we also, you know, one guy said, oh, I can only do it every other session. Well, you're going to miss a lot, because what are we all going to do? We've been playing all, you know, we've been playing for a week, a weekly thing. And now what, we're supposed to just all stop and, you know, I mean, so uh, it, playing over the internet is neat because it affords people an opportunity that they may not have in their local area. But anonymity of the internet uh, makes it easy to, you know, just ghost people and you know, or so, and that's why when it comes to the Greyhawk thing, I want to make sure that people are really committed to it, um, because it is a big thing, and I've had more often than not these things fall apart before they really get going, you know, and so I've asked some people, and then I put out a general thing just to see what kind of response I would get. So if I get any more responses from the Twitter thing, I'll make a second party. But people, I don't know, no one's really listening, so it doesn't matter. But people that I know and have had experience with that are generally, not everybody, things come up. I get it. But people that have enough foresight and discipline and courteous nature to say, hey, I I'm not going to be able to do it, or can we reschedule or something like that, and generally make the effort to keep the commitment whenever possible. Versus, I've literally heard people on YouTube say overtly, well, I didn't know about this kind of game and I didn't really want to spend the money on it, so I joined an online game, and if it sucked, you know, it's online, so I could just blow it off. Just openly saying that, you know, there are really human beings on the other end of these connections, and you're just saying, I don't give a shit about their time at all. I'll make them all show up, and then ghost them if I don't feel like doing it, because it's not like they couldn't have done something better with their time than wait around for you to ghost them. So I'm sorry if it sounds bitchy. I shouldn't have to say this for people who are, you know, generally adults, but it happens far too often not to have to, you know, make it a consideration of running these games. Sorry. So uh, we'll make we'll make sure that we get some, that we get enough. If there really are enough people who are like, I really want to do it, okay, we'll make sure that we have enough time slots to accommodate any number of people, no matter how large or small it is. So, but I would love to, I'd love to have you take a look at other things. We probably won't after I lectured about keeping appointments for 10 minutes, but it bugs me, especially as a DM when you put a lot of effort into this stuff. So, but that's all right. We'll set this thing up. We'll get whoever's, really down on it. Let's see. Like I said, I've gotten about 7 replies. And I think that's more than enough for one party. I think we can squeeze that into one game. So we'll work it out. But it'll be a lot of fun. And we'll see who wants to play what, and as far as, classes and all that sort of stuff. As far as times, this is another difficult thing. Again, I've probably done enough old curmudgeoning here on this talk already, but back in the day, you usually shot for the weekends because more people tended to have a kind of weekday 9 to 5 type of work schedule, but that seems to have evolved into who knows when you're really, so I tell you, I've been playing on Saturday at 8 p.m. Central, and that seemed to work for a lot of people. Fridays and Saturday nights still seem to be the best, but there's still a lot of people that go, man, I got to work Friday nights and stuff. So this is the way I normally like to do it. And a lot of people find this frustrating. But to me, it seems like the best idea is you put out, hey, I want to play this game. Are you interested? And get as many people to, there'll be a lot of people that'll reply. Now, not everybody's going to be able to do it because you can't coordinate. But if you get 20 people reply and they all have put out their schedules, maybe you'll find 5 or 6 that have a schedule where they can massage it enough that they can all, you can fill out a party. Instead of saying, hey, I'm going to do this Tuesday night, have 20 people show up and go, I could do it any other week, any other night of the week. Once you lock yourself into a time and advertise a game at that time, you lock yourself into finding only people that are available at that time. So to me, it seems better to have people show up and go, I'm interested, but maybe they won't make the cut because does it make, I don't know. Some people don't seem to like it that way, but that's kind of what I do. So the people who I know are playing aren't real sure of their availability just yet. And just like this show right here and the lack of viewership right now proves, it's better to talk and promote something for a long period of time and set a date a little bit further out. So people have a lot of time to go, hey, I want to mark my calendar for this. I want to arrange my schedule around it. Impromptu tends to, man, had I known a week ago, I wouldn't have insert, whatever appointment or commitment they've already made. So, but not everybody's got a big bundle of patience either. So people might fade away if it takes too long to organize the game. So we'll kind of have to temper both sides of the street as far as that goes. But maybe next, sometime in August, we'll have to see. I'll bring it up. But first, I'm going to need people to show up at some sort of live discussion about the matter and get some input and stuff like that from people. So this isn't serving anybody's needs by talking to nobody. So, So anyway, I mean, maybe Saturday or Sunday afternoon is a bad thing for this too, because people are in relaxation mode or whatever have you. But I decided to do one on a. I wanted to see what it was like to do one during the day. When you do one at night, one being one of these lives, there tends to be 5 or 6 other, role playing type people doing their own live shows. And because I'm relatively new at the streamer thing, they all have you know, a base of viewership that I don't have yet. So I have this. I'm looking at a bunch of zeros in all the platforms I'm broadcasting to. So got to start somewhere, but we'll have to see. I am in communication with 6 out of the 7. One individual just says, "Hey, put me on the list," and I don't know who they are from Adam, which is fine. I'll send them something in DM to see if I can coordinate with them further, but we'll see. So, and yeah, I think we all know what's up with the rest of it. So we'll have to see how it goes. Ooh. If you're on Twitter and you hear me huffing and puffing and slowing down, I don't know who's following. Twitter's a weird thing. It won't give you a list of who's watching. And if you don't have one of those stupid check marks that you have to pay for, then you can't communicate at all. You can't type a comment in the live on Twitter. So as I sit here and look at all the platforms, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Rumble, I'm probably forgetting a few, Kick. I see nobody watching. I also see 12 views at Twitter, but that doesn't mean 12 viewers. What I found out is a view is anybody who stared at the screen for 4 seconds or more. Might take me 4 seconds to scroll through. So I have no idea if I'm talking to anybody but my breath at this point. So if you pick this up on Twitter and you want to ask questions or communicate about this game with the Greyhawk thing, let's do this. And everybody's, when this kind of stuff happens, there's a lot of people that go, well, you should, and place this, and, they've got a lot of great suggestions, but no matter what, there it is. It's in Twitter. I think you can at least see this, and I have put it out on the Twitter elsewhere, the link to the YouTube, where you can, you can come on in, you can can subscribe, please do. But at the least, you can go into the little chat box and say, hey, I don't, do we have any other questions about this game we're playing? So, again, what you need is Discord, and tabletop. It'd really be nice if you had it. It's right. Here's the thing. Right now, it's half price. It's like $8 or $9, $10 tops. So it'd be real easy to get a hold of. And it makes things a lot easier if everybody has it. I think the maximum is 8 or 10 that could connect to the thing. Um, and I think we have, like I said, about 7. So that's good, 7 or 8. So we're right there. And what if we use, and this is an if we use tabletop for certain things, it has everything you need. You don't have to just buy it and log on. It works with this stuff. So you don't need a secondary voice communication program if you're going to use it. If we're not using that, we're just doing theater of the mind, do something like Discord, then all you need is this, you know, and nothing else. Discord has a dice roller. Frankly, I would recommend not using that, and we'll find some other means to do the dice rolling. So that's okay. I mean, there's even the option of just doing tabletop with miniatures or without. At least on tabletop, you're rolling dice instead of just having some digital scoreboard generate a number for you. And they are set up for role playing, even if you're not using miniatures. So we'll have to see. The other thing is, it doesn't matter how good your stuff is. It doesn't matter how many times you've used things. It doesn't matter. None of that matters, because things are being downloaded for updates all the time on all these platforms and all these rigs and blah. Things can work for you one day and literally not work the same way the next day. So not every bug can be ironed out, but I'm not, a big fan of safety tools or anything like that, but a session 0 that is dedicated to, helping people get connected that may be a little bit less comfortable with working with that stuff, less knowledgeable, whatever you want to say. I don't want to make people sound dumb, but you know what I mean. And even if you think you're a whiz at that kind of thing, great, good, you can help us out. But everybody should at least show up the night before a session, or at least the beginning of this thing, and make sure that all the lights on the board will be green. So there's a show Monday night. We'll see if we can, it might behoove me to discuss this matter further on Monday night when there's a few more people, at least there has been in the past, that come in and watch. But we had a big game planned, and that might take the entirety of the show's running time up. So, but I made it kind of official for Sunday just to see about maybe changing the time. Basically, what I was thinking is I started with Monday at 7. Yeah, you know what? Why am I doing it? I don't know if anybody watch it. So if you're on Twitter and you can't reply before I waste any more of my breath, it might be absolutely nobody. If you can't reply in the live chat because you don't want to pay for a stupid blue check, that's fine. Go ahead and send me something on Twitter via DM or something like that, and say, "Hey, we're actually listening to you stammer, and we want to know more." That'd be great. I can jump into that, and we can. But right now, I'm just looking at a board of zeros and stuff, and I'm like, whatever. So, there are a couple people there. Okay, so I'll get a hang of this stuff yet. It requires a rhythm to get into, and I don't have much rhythm. White boy. So Um, I like I said, I don't want to get too deep into what we might play as far as scenario or anything like that. This game isn't really about scenarios, you know. It's kind of a sandbox type of thing. Um, and we'll just go with that as an explanation as far as Greyhawk goes. I think there's people that are interested that may have never played this version of D&D. So I guess what I'll do is in the future, one of these shows or one of these times I just go live, uh, I'll promote it so people have a heads up. But I'll put a video of some sort out so people can become acclimated to the differences. It's it's a less complex version as far as the term complexity tends to be used in the realm of gaming. Um, so, but there might be those times where, oh, I'm used to it working this way because I've played, first edition for 20 years or 40 years or whatever. So we'll just kind of do a little contrast and compare, and so people can kind of ease their way into the rule set type of thing. But this much I know. This isn't a rules lawyer thing going on here. We've got a couple of books from the mid 70s that likely will be guardrails at best, and this will be kind of a free, as I understand it, a free and open type of role playing thing. More about, I guess the phraseology these days is rule zero. I don't know if that truly is the right phraseology to use in this particular respect, but it's definitely going to be a more rules guideline than, you know, war game centric, rules driven, procedural driven type of situation. So let's go with that. And no, you don't have to have it. You don't have to have it. The original for sale in good condition on eBay or something like that. I can only imagine the price tag that they want for something like that. It's got to be pretty high. So we can work out ways, again, like a video where you can just get a basic briefing of the system without having to. I mean, if you have the means and the desire to own as a collector, great. I mean, it's certainly easier if people bring a copy to the game. But given the situation, you couldn't possibly require people, you know. So we'll have to work around that as well if you're not that familiar with it. But easy enough to do. Let's see if anybody's really. Hello, is there anybody out there? Um, that's about it. I don't know that there's it's early in this, but I just wanted to get the word out because if you don't tell people it's happening, no one will ever come. But it is early. There are some details that need to be hashed out. We'll keep people involved. As far as any other things going on, I wanted to use this time to talk about some of that too. Star Wars. If please, I love Star Wars. It gets beat up, ignored, and derided on Twitter, and it's a bummer. And I love to play it. Star Wars West End games, the D6 Star Wars is a joy. And so, just to give you a little background on me and role playing, I stopped doing it for a long time only because there wasn't anybody around doing it. And I wasn't that in tune with social media. And from what I saw in the limited use of the internet that I had, it was kind of a bygone era. Sure, it was still being made by this company and WotC and all that, but that that didn't mean anything to me, comparative to. So that's some faceless corporate giant that's trying to milk money out of a badge that they purchased a long time ago. So I just kind of gave up on it, and then I stumbled across this whole OSR thing, and I misinterpreted what it meant because there's 100 different definitions of OSR, as we all know out there. So I thought, hey, man, people are into the retro. They're into playing the old games. And I was like, great, I can finally go back to Star Wars. I don't want to learn modern anything. I didn't get enough use out of half the stuff I bought in the 80s. So I wanted to go back to Star Wars. And I often hear people, or read people more accurately, on these social medias talk about how, the D6 and the Star Wars was one of the best role playing games of the era, if not one of the best role playing games ever. Great. I'm glad you have that opinion. Would you feel like playing it if it's so damn good? Because I want to play. So I have several of those if anybody wants to play. Um, like 4 different, campaigns. And they're not huge. So for people that get into the whole railroading versus agency thing and all that, they're, I don't know that really applies so much to something that's about a theatrical movie that's really, I mean, story arc is kind of the whole point, but it's not, you're not on a rail if that's what you're worried about. So, but there are some of them that have some boundaries because the galaxy has, some atlas put out how many planets, and it was an astronomical amount and all that. So there has to be some limits, but you could play those. There's one about the beginning of the rebellion, which is kind of my non-Disney Andor, I suppose. There's one about, there's a prequel to that, basically, that starts time-wise just after the ending of the third movie episode, third prequel. And then there's one that revolves around the X-Wing TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, X-Wing Alliance, all of that sort of stuff too. Because I loved those games and didn't want to do a role-playing thing about them. So there's my Star Wars stuff. I do have, well, one guy said he couldn't play on Saturday anymore. I don't think he wants to play. But there's 4 people that have been in the past playing regularly. One said he couldn't do it anymore during the summer. It was too busy. The other 3 have been playing not every week, but most weeks. So that's still, I guess, technically going. But other than that, I do wargaming. I'd love to have more wargaming opponents. If you go, well, wargaming looks neat, but the rules look like a headache, we can work that out. I have a way of making tutorials interesting and fun to do if you want to learn the basics of wargaming. We have here at Command Post Gaming, which is my gaming business, we have free Kriegspiel offered, which all that means is, if you're not familiar with the term, it's just kind of a very rules light, very similar to what we're going to be likely doing with the Greyhawk campaign. It's just some very minor guidelines, and the rest is just having judges like myself make the rulings based on experience with wargaming and things like that. BattleTech. Got BattleTech board games and miniatures games again over VTT, Tabletop Simulator. Love to play those. Um, Mega Mech. People often bring that up and go, "Hey, do you want to try that out?" I would love to. Last time I tried it, I couldn't get it to work on my computer properly. That might be operator error, but I'd love to run things like that. I also have BattleTech PC, and I have a whole system where there's a couple people playing with me, and what they do is we use a board game uh, called Succession Wars, and then we go and fight it out in multiplayer on the BattleTech PC. So you might want to try that if you've got that game. Do a little multiplayer battle stuff. And I have, oh God, I could be here all day talking about all the other types of things. I've got Napoleonic Risk, which is like you have a risk game, but you don't roll dice for the battles. The pieces equate to an army of miniatures, and you fight a very slipstream, low rules, low page density, quickie kind of Napoleonic battle over the territory. And that's called Europe at War, but it's just basically like that. It's like Risk in Europe. So we've got that. I've got a Dark Sun wargaming. What you do is you have 5 players. Each one is a wizard king and in Athos, and you're fighting for domination of the territory, the whole continent, stuff like that. I always got stuff on my screen. Kind of gross. World War One biplanes, Dawn Patrol. Anybody remember Dawn Patrol? Got a Dawn Patrol game. That'd be a lot of fun if I could get people to play that. I think they'd really enjoy it. You're playing as a pilot in the First World War on either side. It's a competitive thing in that some players will be on one side, some players will be on the other. And you're, getting kills and in the air, and finishing missions will gain you notoriety and glory and experience points, and there'll be a successive amount of missions, and you just kind of develop your pilot as a role-playing character by role-playing part of a unit. So it's a multiplayer game. Makes it hard to get enough people to play, but it will require at least 8 people, 4 on a side. If I can get more, there's no upper limit. Well, that's kind of exaggeratory, but you could easily do double digits without any problem. But the likelihood of getting 8 people to play Dawn Patrol out of the blue is, frankly, not real high. But I'd love to try it. There's a lot of people these days look at Dawn Patrol. It's like, oh, that's one of those antique, difficult, takes 2 hours to play 2 minutes thing. I hear that a lot. And not true. Especially when you have a judge that can help you out with the stuff. So when I played Dawn Patrol and I got 2 of my friends to come and try it and sit down and play it, they got bored because it took a while to teach them and they weren't masters of attention. In fact, I think they actually ended up being called ADD in school. So when I showed up and didn't know how to play, Mike Carr was running these things at Gen Con, him and his Fights in the Sky Society. And when you had people who knew the rules, they could just, walk you through them and arbitrate a game while you played. It was fun, and it moved right along. So World War II, I have World War II role-playing / war game where you play as a commander of troops. Your troops are NPCs. They have names, they have ranks, they have abilities. It's not just here's a bunch of metal miniatures that represent troops, and off they go. They have some personality, and you kind of have a little bit of more of a role play element, but it is a kind of a role playing game about being at war. So we've got that. Let's see what else. There's a couple others. Oh, the fantasy battles. I've got a fantasy battles game going on, and we're going to do a demo for that tomorrow night at 7 p.m. There's a scenario all set up on Tabletop Simulator. We're going to live stream it and show everybody how that works, so we can play those kinds of things, kind of a mass battles for my RPG. Anybody want to play an RPG that's home brewed? A lot of people. It's the funniest thing. You hear a lot of people. I don't want to sound bitter or anything like that. You play whatever the hell you want, but I don't understand how in one breath people say support indie creators and then deride homebrewed rules. Because so I'm not sure how that works, but if you've independently created something, it would start as your home brew, right? I don't know, unless homebrew has a definition these days that it didn't when I was younger, because to me that was. But anyway, I have my own RPG. It's called Paracosmic Convergence. I have a demo, one-off, called Zymax's Tower. Love to have people try it out. It's light, influenced by several different old school types of games. You'll see some D6 type of stuff in there, things like that. I think it has a very unique way of doing combat. A lot of people say that, and then they go, "Hey, did you know?" And then there's some of these dudes who and chicks. I don't want to be non-inclusive, but there are people who have these encyclopedic retention of, oh, that mechanic's in these, and they'll list off every game that has that. I was never able to do that. So I say it's unique, and then I might be proven wrong by somebody slapping some material I've never seen. But it's certainly not common. I think it's something new and innovative as far as anyway, Zymax's Tower is just about it's a little one-off. It's about a king running a small principality in my campaign world for the system, or one of them. I actually have several. His little principality has been the victim of orc raids in the past, and in order to get some help with it, they befriended, or the king befriended this mysterious wizard that lived out in the forest on the west end of the principality, and they made a deal. Zymax had this kind of experiment or system that he had developed to create a magical force field that was much larger than the average. And in exchange for some payment of rare flowers that he used in his experiments and stuff like that, he erected this barrier to keep the orcs out. Yeah. And anyway, so Zymax has gone missing. Nobody knows. He hasn't been in town to pick up his payment this month, and the barrier's starting to break down, and the orcs are starting to commit raids on the western frontier and stuff like that. So your party's been charged with the king to go out, find Zymax's tower, see if he's in there, and ask, "Hey, what's up?" Get some answers, try to reestablish some sort of deal, try to get him to upkeep the barrier. In the meantime, there's fighting on the western frontier with the orcs to keep them out while the barrier continues to break down. So on Monday night, that scenario, that fight, that's the mass battles version of my game. That's the fantasy war game I was talking about. So we'll be playing on Sunday at 7 p.m. See if there's anybody that hey, anybody watching this? Anything to say? Hello? So I always simulcast to Twitter because I've had people come, hey, I saw you on Twitter. And I always get a lot of views on Twitter, but that I just think that means it's rolling past people's screens. I really would like to have people come to the YouTube or the Rumble or the Twitch or anywhere else where I can talk. I don't like to. I like to conversate with people. Anyway, so, but if no matter what you're on, with the exception of Twitter, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know. I got Instagram, and it's another one. I don't know if you can have any conversation with them, but again, so that's why I try to funnel you to at least kick Twitch, YouTube, or Rumble, where I know that I can. If you type something, I can see it and reply. That would be great because I'm dying here. I work. Well, I've been talking for almost an hour, and I don't know if I've been talking to anybody or not. I just don't know. So, anyway, we'll try again. See if we can get some people to, maybe I'll try to broadcast after a few heads up. So, we'll be signing off for now. And but if you are out there and you are listening, and for whatever reason you're not replying, and you're thinking, hey, we'll do this again. I'm going to do it repetitively to try to get the word out about the Greyhawk thing, shit like that. So.